Welcome to part 4 of the web design sales interaction model. Today we're going to be discussing your third interaction, or really the third through sixth interaction. And this series of interactions is called discovery. Discovery is a very important part of your sales process and probably one of the major keys to how I'm going to help you increase the value of every single one of your potential projects. You'll notice that no other part of our sales process takes up this many interactions, and that's because discovery is incredibly important. Everything that you've done up until this point is to get you to discovery. Typically, once I get a customer into discovery, once I've qualified them and I've actually established that I'm a professional and we've had several interactions, once I've actually gotten to discovery and I've gotten them to agree to discovery, then usually from this point forward, I'm usually pretty confident that we're going to move forward on a project. It's just trying to figure out what exactly you're going to do for the customer. So in this section, I've divided it up into 7 different parts. First, we're going to go through a general overview of what discovery is and why it's so important. Then we're going to get specific about discovery's objective. And then we've got an individual video about each of your discovery interactions, which will take you through interactions number 3 through 6 and potentially beyond that. Discovery is typically over when it's over. So if you have to go beyond the 3 or 4 interactions that I'm outlining in this part of the course and have 5 or 6 or 7 discovery meetings with the client, I know that might sound crazy, but it's definitely happened on occasion when you have bigger projects or customers that have really complex needs and really takes a while to understand exactly what they need in their solution. And that's why we allow discovery to go on for as long as it needs to. So our last video is what I consider discovery N, or basically some things to think about if your discovery continues on past the 4 meetings that I'm outlining in this part of the interaction series. Now let's cover some discovery basics. First, discovery is the most important aspect of selling. But now, just because I say it's the most important aspect of selling does not mean that you sell during discovery. Part of the preparation that you've done to get to this point in the process is to establish some equal footing with your customer so that you guys can engage in a very real and authentic conversation about their business. It's really important when you're in discovery to not breeze through just trying to get to a proposal. So make sure you do not breeze through to get to a proposal. Sometimes discovery is going to end in no proposal. You're going to realize after you start deep diving with a customer that they're not a good fit for what you do. And so if your objective is to just get them to a proposal, you're going to find yourself in a kind of awkward situation when you start putting proposals on the table for business that you shouldn't have ever pursued in the first place. Now, part of this should have been weeded out in our qualification step, but what you want to make sure is that discovery is all about the customer. The next few meetings, you're not going to be thinking about proposals. You're going to be taking lots and lots of notes. You're going to be asking a lot of questions. You're going to be thinking about where are the pains and problems of your business, and you're going to spend more time later on organizing those if a proposal is part of the solution. But you want to make sure you don't just breeze through and work towards a proposal. The third thing that's really important of why we do discovery, and I've said this a little bit, but it's a mutual exploration. Part of discovery being a mutual exploration is that you and your customer are both deep diving into their business to look for potential pain points and opportunities of how you guys might one day work together and how you might be able to solve some serious pains in their business. I'm going to outline a 4 interaction series in discovery of what you could potentially do on these 4 discovery meetings. Each one of these meetings is going to have a very specific objective and agenda, but that's not to say that as you get better at discovery that you need to always follow my 4 meetings. These are just 4 general outlines that have worked really well for me, but as you're working with a customer in discovery, you're going to go down tangents and go down, rabbit holes that lead you to places where maybe you and the business owner weren't fully aware that it was going to lead you to that place, and that's what discovery is all about. It's about finding those aha moments in a business and getting to that place in a mutually agreeable fashion. Discovery is also not a single meeting. In my early days, a lot of times what I'd do is I'd try to get a meeting with a customer as quick as I could, and I'd spend an hour or 2 hours with them just talking about their business and going down all these random tangents. And while that sounds like discovery, discovery is not a single meeting. It's several interactions. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have a meeting with somebody and you're going to deep dive and you're going to get some questions answered about their business. But then it's going to be your job to go do some homework about what you learned in discovery and then be able to come back with some additional questions and clarifications so that you can go into deeper discovery. So if you think about discovery as like layers of an onion, you're going to quickly peel back each and every layer of the onion, and you're going to, at one point, get to the center of the onion. And that's really what discovery is about. So you don't want to load that up into one single meeting. You could get a lot of answers in a single meeting, but the problem with that is you're not leveraging the power of the interaction model. You're not spreading out your interactions over time, and you're also not able to prepare or really do any kind of research ahead of time. Another aspect that's really important of discovery is you're not necessarily looking for a solution. You're trying to find problems. So when you think about that for a minute, you're not sitting there just waiting to ask questions to your prospective customer so they might tell you that they need more of your services. What you're trying to do is find real problems in their business, and you're trying to find the root cause of some of those problems. And you're trying to look at their online landscape and their online business ecosystem and what everything that's happening with their website, and you're trying to find potential problems in areas that you might be able to help them with, but you're not looking for the solution. Because once you have all your notes and once you've gone through a complete discovery phase, then you can sit down and look at what kind of solution you can potentially provide to solve those pains and those problems. So it's always a good reminder when you're going into discovery to think to yourself, I'm not trying to find solutions right now. All I'm trying to do is find problems. And one of the best moments in any kind of discovery, and when you know you've done an awesome job doing discovery, is if you can sit back and say, I could have charged for that. As you get better at discovery, you'll start to become more of a sales consultant, and you'll actually start to think to yourself, I probably could have charged for that service. So usually when you go through discovery and you're like, wow, I provided so much value. I helped them find so many interesting pains and problems in their business. You know, I could have charged a lot of money to do that for that business. And that's always a really good realization, because that's the goal of discovery, to either provide a lot of value or be able to help them find real problems in their business. And a lot of guys I know, and myself personally, you know, I was able to create consulting plans and consulting products to actually charge customers to do my front-end sales work. As you've noticed, my process involves spending a lot more time with your prospective customers. And this is one of the ways you help build value and start charging a lot more for your projects. But this skill that you develop working with a lot of businesses and spending time going in depth with them is definitely something that you can charge for. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend trying to charge for this in the beginning. It's kind of more of an advanced concept, but as you start to go through this process more and more with your prospective customers, I definitely recommend you might want to try it on a project or two of basically charging to do discovery or doing paid discovery. But I don't want you to get too distracted with that. It's just kind of a bonus possibility. So now that we've gone over some things of why I think discovery is so important and some kind of basic do's and don'ts, I want to take you next into what discovery's primary objective is.